Hi guys, welcome to our Master Crafter tutorial. We are going to work on this amazing, it's called the Witchy hat. It is, I believe, 8 layers, if I remember correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. And we are going to do each of them together. So we're going to take a look at this one by one, showing you guys all the layers. So you start with your back one, which shows you your bats and your sky. And then we'll add this layer, which you can see it covers up the spider and the web all the way, but we're adding this new layer of a hill with a graveyard cemetery. Then we'll give it just a little more depth with some more cemetery, our haunted house, but you can still see all this great stuff in the background, and we're going to do each layer at a time. This is the Master Crafter kit, so it definitely is something that would take more time, getting all the detail on your house, things like that. See, now we add a witch. You've got this fence with the cat. You can still see all the layers. The cat's right in front of the graveyard, which is perfect. We're going to add this little tree with an owl and a spider and a bat. I'm just loving it. See the little cat. There's all these little details that we're going to get into. And then finally, you've got this one top layer that goes in, and it's the moon just there, floating in the sky, right in front of everything. It's my favorite thing. This is your top layer. This is your most important layer. Want to make sure that one's really nice. On these bottom ones, you want to make sure that you're getting everything that's going to be seen. So I do recommend having a pencil. And this tutorial is going to be a little different than when you guys see me go live. We're just going to go through it. There'll be a little bit of editing. And other than that, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm not sure what you guys would do. I'm actually going to switch this up. I'm going to do it like this. I want the tree in the front. I like that look much, much better. So that's what we're going to do. That's our front. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're going to start with the back here, and we're going to do a bit of a color blend. And I'm going to show you guys how we do that. You don't need to worry too much about your bats. We're still going to be able to see those. I am going to use a wet brush because I feel like it's important to not have really super thick paint because that would fill in your bats. So I'm going to grab a couple colors because it's spooky and kind of Halloweeny. I'm going to do a blend. I'm going to use some red. And I'm going to use some purple. I think will go really nice in that sky. Actually, I'm gonna do some red and some blue because red and blue together make purple. So I think that it's gonna make a nice little purple sky for me as I'm hoping it to do. If not, I'm gonna take a little bit of purple just to give it that little punch. And we're gonna do also a little bit of white just to lighten everything up. I'm gonna take a brush here, get just a little bit of the water off of it. And taking my brush, I'm gonna dip it corner, a corner, and a little bit in the middle. So I've got all three colors on here. And then we're going to just start streaking it. I'm going to make a nice red sky. And we're going to give it some purple highlights of it. And doing these colors back and forth, it's going to make it nice and eerie. And you don't have to worry too much. Look at how it blends together. That's pretty fun. Corner, corner, a little bit in the middle. And just keep blending it and blending it. And if you're like, oh, I think I'm going to go a little bit darker with some blues and purples, maybe letting it down at the skyline, be a little brighter. I'll show you in a second how fun this is going to be when we add these other things on top of it. It'll look almost dusky. It'll be pretty fantastic. I like doing the blend. I think it's a lot of fun. I think I'm going to add some stars into this too. I'm not sure if you guys have done stars with me before, but I do like a good star background, especially when you're going to have all of this stuff on top of it. So you're only going to see part of it. So we definitely want to make it just a wee bit brighter. I don't want to go too dark, but I think the stars are going to lighten it up a lot by having those stars in there. I'll show you guys how I do that. A little hazy, maybe. Cloudy night. There we go. You can dig that. That was looking great. So we're gonna let that sit for a second and dry, and then we'll come back and add the stars in. We'll move on to our next layer. You can tell by putting the layer that's gonna go next on top of it, how much of it is actually going to show. These are the reasons I would want a pencil. You should make small little lines. You don't have to do the whole thing. Then you can see afterwards that you want to color. That's what's going to show. The rest of this isn't going to show. It's really not much of a need to do the whole thing. This is what's going to show. So take your time and put your detail into the pieces that are going to show. And there's no reason to waste your time doing the things that are just going to get glued right on top of. So I definitely would recommend taking your time and doing these instead. And so we're going to do, I'm thinking like a dark green. We can do a little bit of white with that and make a really cool grassy area that this is going to be where the cemetery's at. Just a smidge of white. I'm going to hit both sides here and give it some texture here. That's going to be our grassy area. Ooh, maybe we should make it dirt because I kind of like those zombie hands. So I think I'm going to instead change it up. And that's the great thing about acrylic is you can change it all you want. So we're just gonna go ahead and go right over the top of that. I'm gonna grab some brown. Let's see. We're just going to go right over the top of it. These will look kind of great. Down right there. That's gonna allow us to do silver or grays or this gravestone and then still allow for this. So once we cover it up, see, that's the part that's going to show. So it's just that little section there. So that is fun. You don't have to worry about doing the whole thing. Now we do want, we've got our zombie hands, which I think I'd like them a little bit brighter. So I'm just gonna use a smaller brush. And brighten those hands up. Put some detail into this. It will stand out. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of detail to this now. Okay, so I've got this layer finished. You can see everything that's going to be seen is right there. So we'll move on to the next layer. And this is almost dry, so we're almost able to go back and do our bats, which we will be right back to that. So set this one to the side also. And then we will work on our next layer. And remember, if you grab the one that's supposed to go on top of it, you'll see exactly what's going to be seen. So this one's got quite a bit that's going to be seen. So I kind of at least hit that lowest point. So you know you want all of this done. All of it painted. Probably even more like this. Okay, so we kind of got a line of where we're gonna go. Maybe we'll make it that same green brown that we did on this one here. So it looks a little further away, maybe a darker green. Let's see. Let's be behind it. I think the same green. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we're gonna just keep playing. Okay, so we've got that layer done. I think it's starting to look really kind of great. This is all gonna end up stacking together. See all the fun layers that adds. Then we give it a sky. But since our sky is getting kind of dry, we can add our bats now. So set this over to the side. Try to keep them in order. It does help. Sometimes I will take and write a pencil mark on the part that won't be seen to tell you which layer you're on. So there's always that as a possibility. I'm just going to use this really fine brush here and fill my bats in. Kind of just stay inside your lines that are set for you there with the engraving. And just darken it up. If you want to use a paint pen, you are free to do that too. Or you can use a Sharpie. Some people have done that. You want to make sure it's really, really dry if you're going to use either of those though, because they both don't like getting the tip of it wet. It makes it clog up and then you end up with a splotchy vat. So you want to make sure that you are filling that in all the way or letting that dry all the way before you fill it in if you're using the paint pens. If you're painting, you want to let it dry most of the way because otherwise you're going to be blending, but you don't have to let it dry 100% where you can. Depends on if you're trying to do it, well, this whole project in one evening or you're wanting to spread it out. Because the nice thing about Master Crafter is you actually can do it over the whole course of the month. And it is a nice craft that you could just work really hard on one layer or 2 layers a night and then put it together over the course of a month without without doing it all in one night. You can make choices. You can do it with somebody, make it a family project that you guys are all working on together in one evening. And then it's like a collaboration. That's kind of fun. Or you can keep it all for yourself, like I'm doing right now. So we got those bats done. Those look fantastic. We'll set those to the side. Pretty simple, staying just right in the line. I said then this layer is going to go on so you can see the bats are placed in a place where you're going to be able to see them at the end. So you can add more bats if you want to, but do remember you have a lot that's about to go on over the top of it. So they're pretty strategically placed. Set that over to the side. And we are going to do the next layer, which is the fence. So I'm going to grab this, check the top of it. You can see there's a little bit of this grass that we're going to see here. So we want to make sure that we are accommodating that. Set our witch back to the side, and then we'll go ahead and we'll paint our area here with the fence and the cat. Okay. Okay, so we've completed that layer. Cat's now in front of the gravestones. Everything's kind of layering out. I think it's looking pretty great here. Next thing we have is going to be the witch layer. So she goes right here. We're going to get her taken care of. And then knowing on top of her, it's going to be these last 2 layers here. So we're going to paint most of the bottom of her, maybe not all the way to the bottom, but you can see there's some stuff going on behind here. So I think I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm doing this, and I'm going to use my pencil and just make some lines as to where these pumpkins are. And I think I'm going to try to get something bright behind the pumpkins. So I've got my markings here. What I'm going to do, this will be the master part of it, I suppose. Here we go. Everybody, wish me luck. Okay, so I just used the back of my brush to add the bubbles, the boil and trouble over on top there. I don't always have to use a brush. There's so many different ways and textures that you could do to add these. Look how fun that's really starting to look. That's really starting to come together. It's a lot of fun. Got a couple more layers left to do. The next one we're working on is just the moon in the sky. That's the only thing that's going to show after we're done here is the moon in the sky. So we're going to just do side and work on the moon in the sky. And then the finishing touches on our top piece, which will have probably the most of the detail. So we will keep working on that. Okay. So we'll go ahead and add this. I might even try dropping that back one more. I mean, you've got control over this. You can put it however you want, but I think I want my fish a little further out. So I like that. I like it a lot. You can see the bright yellow coming through this layer here on your pumpkins. Gives it a different kind of glow, a little extra texture. We've got our witch painted. She's still drying, so we're not going to glue this tonight because, well, she's still drying. We want to make sure it's done nice, and you want to take your time with gluing it. You want to glue 2 layers together and allow them to dry I do recommend using clamps, tape, weights, something to hold this together because you want to get a nice tight seal around here, and do it one layer at a time. And then we add our next layer. And then we add our next layer. You can see I've chosen to kind of mix mine up a little bit. And I changed it. So now I'm gonna put my moon here. Why not? There's no rules. So we've got our lady. And finally, the pumpkin topper with all the spider web. So thank you for joining me today. If you guys have your Master Crafter kit and you would have done it, I would love to see what it looks like. Share it with us, tag Craft and Craft, and join us next time. Thank you so much. Have a great night.